6 hours earlier, Linh lay in the hospital bed, breath sharp and uneven. The pain came in waves, stealing her voice each time it hit. Her fingers clutched the phone like it was her last connection to safety. "Mom," she gasped, "I'm about to give birth. Please get Min from school." Her mother's voice came soft but distant. "Don't worry, dear. We'll handle everything." Linh smiled weakly, believing her mother meant comfort, not betrayal. Outside, rain tapped against the hospital window, calm before disaster. Minutes later, the nurse shouted that she was fully dilated. Lin's world narrowed to pain, breath, and the thought of her son. She imagined Min's small hand in her mother, waiting to meet his sister. Hours passed. When Linh finally opened her eyes, the baby cried beside her. A nurse congratulated her. Her heart swelled, but a sharp panic followed. "Where's my son?" she asked, voice cracking. The nurse frowned, unsure. Linh reached for her phone, the battery flashing red. She called her mother. No answer. She tried again. Straight to voicemail. Her father's number next. Disconnected. Something inside her went cold. Outside the maternity window, dusk painted the city in bruised colors. A text arrived. Her father's name glowed on the screen. "You chose money over family. Now you'll learn what it feels like to lose one." Her hands shook so hard the phone nearly slipped. Tears blurred the words, but the meaning burned clear. They had taken Min. Her pulse pounded in her ears. She pressed the call button for the nurse. "I need to leave," she said. "You can't," the nurse replied. "You just gave birth." But Linh was already pulling the IV from her arm. Blood beaded against pale skin, proof she was still alive. She found a discarded jacket in the visitor chair. Her legs trembled, but she forced them forward. Down the corridor. Past the smell of antiseptic and soft cries of newborns. The security guard shouted after her. She didn't stop. Outside, the night air hit her like ice. She stumbled to her car, body screaming, mind burning. Images of Min's smile flashed behind her eyes. She had promised him she'd always come back. Now she had to keep that promise, no matter the cost. Streetlights blurred through her tears as she drove. Her phone buzzed once more. A message from an unknown number. "Check the church on Hill Street." Her breath caught. She slammed the accelerator. Every contraction, every wound, every betrayal fueled her. She didn't know who sent the message, but she followed it blindly. Somewhere ahead, her son waited. Somewhere behind, the people who called themselves family were vanishing. And in between, a mother reborn through pain, ready for war. 3 days later, Linh sat in her kitchen, holding a cup of cold coffee. The baby slept in a bassinet nearby, tiny chest rising and falling. Min sat at the table, drawing silently, his shoulders stiff and small. TU letter 1EA5 and watched him, jaw tight, eyes dark with sleepless anger. The house was quiet, except for the faint scratching of crayon on paper. "Did he eat anything?" TU letter 1EA5 and asked. Linh shook her head. "He said he's not hungry." She stared at her son's drawing, a house with no doors, no sun. Her heart clenched. TU letter 1EA5 N pushed his laptop toward her. Rows of numbers filled the screen. "That's everything we've given Kong," he said flatly. "Almost $20,000 in transfers and loans. Truck repairs. Business investments. Excuses labeled as family." Linh rubbed her temples, feeling the weight of every naive decision. "He said he just needed help once," she whispered. TU letter 1EA5, N's laugh was bitter, dry. "Once turns into forever when guilt is the currency." Her phone rang. The caller ID flashed her father's name. TU letter 1EA5, N reached over and pressed speaker. "How dare you choose money over your own brother?" the voice roared. "You broke your mother's heart. She's been in bed all day." Linh closed her eyes, the words like shards in her skin. Dad, you left my son at a church, she said softly. You abandoned him. Her father's tone sharpened. Don't twist things. We trusted the priest. You're ungrateful. TU letter 1EA5 and slammed his hand on the table. That's enough. The call cut off. Silence again, thicker this time. Min's crayon snapped in half. He didn't look up. Lynn knelt beside him, trying to smile. It's okay, sweetie. But he didn't answer. Later that night, she found him curled under his blanket, still awake. Do you think Grandma hates me? He whispered. Lynn's throat tightened. No, baby. She just doesn't understand what love means. His small fingers gripped her hand. Then why did she say you didn't want me? Tears burned her eyes. She kissed his forehead. Because sometimes adults lie when they can't face their own guilt. Downstairs, TU letter 1EA5 and sat with his head in his hands. I can't keep living like this, he muttered. They poison everything. Lynn sat beside him, the baby monitor glowing between them. What if we talked to someone, a lawyer maybe, she asked. TU letter 1EA5 and looked up, weary but hopeful. Yes, someone who can help us draw a line. The clock ticked softly on the wall. Outside, the wind pressed against the windows. Lynn leaned her head on his shoulder. For the first time in days, she let herself breathe. She knew this was just beginning. The storm wasn't over, but she was done hiding from it. Family could destroy you. But maybe, if she fought hard enough, she could save what truly mattered. The law office smelled faintly of paper and lemon polish. Lynn sat across from the lawyer, her hands trembling in her lap. The woman introduced herself as Thou, calm and composed. Tell me everything, she said, opening a notebook. Lynn took a breath, voice cracking as she began. They left my son at a church while I was giving birth. Thou's pen stopped midair. Intentionally. Lynn nodded. They told him I didn't want him anymore. The lawyer's expression hardened. That's emotional abuse, and possibly abandonment. TU letter 1EA5 and leaned forward, his tone controlled but sharp. We need to make sure they can never come near our kids again. Thou flipped through a legal pad, filled with neat handwriting. You'll need evidence, texts, videos, witness statements. We have a church camera, Lynn said. Father Thomas can confirm everything. Thou nodded. Good, and medical records, the exact time you were in labor. Lynn exhaled slowly. Do you think it's enough? Thou met her eyes. It will be, but you have to be ready. Families like this fight dirty. That night, Lynn couldn't sleep. The house hummed with quiet tension. She checked on Min twice. He was awake, eyes wide in the dark. Mom, he whispered, what if they come back? They won't, she promised, though fear knotted in her stomach. The next morning, TU letter 1EA5 and gathered every receipt, bank transfer, and message. Years of financial proof turned into neat piles on the table. Lynn called the hospital, requesting her labor records. Her hands shook as she signed the release form. Every document felt like a piece of armor. 2 days later, they met Thou again. She examined the evidence with quiet satisfaction. This is strong, she said. But we need to protect your son emotionally as well. I've made an appointment, Lynn said. Dr. Hyan, child therapist. Thou smiled slightly. Good move. Her report will carry weight in court. At the clinic, Min sat at a tiny table drawing shapes. Dr. Hyan watched him, her eyes gentle but knowing. He draws himself apart from the others, she said softly. It means he feels separated, unsafe. Lynn's throat burned. Can you help him? Yes, and I'll document everything for your case. Later, in the car, TU letter 1EA5 and reached over and took her hand. This isn't just about them anymore, he said. It's about showing Min what love really looks like. Lynn stared out the window at the passing streets. She thought of her parents' cold faces, their voices filled with blame. She thought of her son's trembling hands, the fear in his drawings, the silence between them all. "I'm done letting them control us," she whispered. "Tu letter 1EA5 and squeezed her hand. "Then let's finish this." Outside, rain began to fall, soft and steady. Each drop felt like a promise, washing the past away. Lynn closed her eyes. For the first time in years, she felt something close to peace. The post appeared online on a quiet Wednesday morning. A photo of Lynn's parents holding a framed picture of Min. The caption read, "Our daughter has taken our grandchildren away." Within hours, hundreds of comments flooded in. Pity, anger, judgment. Lynn's phone buzzed nonstop with notifications. Her cousins messaged, asking if she was okay. An aunt wrote, "Your poor mother is heartbroken. Why are you doing this?" Lynn scrolled in silence, face pale in the phone's glow. Tu letter 1EA5 and read over her shoulder, fists clenched. "They're turning everyone against us," he said quietly. Lynn nodded, lips trembling but eyes sharp. "Then we show them the truth." They met Thao again that afternoon. The lawyer placed her glasses on the table. "I saw the post," she said. "Classic manipulation." Lynn handed her a flash drive. "Camera footage. Church security gave me a copy." Thao plugged it in, watching the grainy image unfold. The silver car stopped, doors opened, and a small boy stepped out. No hugs, no words. Just a gesture toward the steps and an engine pulling away. "Perfect," Thao said. "This destroys their narrative." But they won't stop there, Tu letter 1EA5 and warned. "They'll twist everything again." Thao smiled thinly. "Then we'll build a wall of facts too high for them to climb." That evening, another post appeared. "Pray for Lynn. She's not well after childbirth," it read. "She's confused, unstable, and influenced by her husband." Lynn laughed bitterly, the sound hollow and exhausted. She handed the phone to Tu letter 1EA5N. "They're calling me crazy now." "Let them," he said. "The truth is stronger." A few hours later, Lynn's friend Sarah sent a message. A link to a fundraising page titled, "Help Grandparents Reunite." Over $2,000 already donated. Tears filled Lynn's eyes, not of sadness but rage. "They're making money off this," she whispered. Tu letter 1EA5 and placed a hand on her back. "This ends now." The next morning, Thao filed an emergency motion for protection. The evidence folder grew thicker, texts, statements, videos. Each piece another stone in the wall. Lynn spent the day organizing proof. Hospital records with timestamps. Therapist reports showing Min's anxiety and night terrors. Bank statements proving years of financial support. Thao reviewed every page carefully. "When we're done," she said, "the court will see everything." That night, Lynn stood by Min's bed, watching him sleep. His hand clutched his teddy bear like a lifeline. She brushed his hair from his forehead, whispering, "They can't hurt you anymore, my love." Downstairs, Tu letter 1EA5 and sat at the kitchen table with the baby monitor. "We're almost there," he said when she joined him. Lynn nodded, staring at the quiet house around them. The storm outside pressed against the windows, but she felt steady. Every lie they told was now a weapon turned back at them. Tomorrow, she would walk into court not as a victim, but as proof. Family could destroy, but truth could rebuild. And she was finally ready to fight. The courthouse loomed tall, its marble steps gleaming under a gray sky. Lynn clutched the folder to her chest, heart pounding in steady rhythm. Tu letter 1EA5 and walked beside her, calm but tense. Inside, the air was cold and sharp with anticipation. Across the aisle, her parents sat with their lawyer, faces carved from stone. Her mother's eyes met hers briefly, full of rehearsed sorrow. Her father stared straight ahead, jaw clenched tight. Their lawyer stood first, voice smooth and heavy with false concern. "My clients are loving grandparents, denied access to their grandchildren." Lynn's stomach twisted. The words dripped like honey, hiding venom beneath. Thao rose, steady and composed. Your Honor, we have evidence proving deliberate emotional harm. She pressed a key on her laptop. The screen flickered to life with church footage. The courtroom fell silent as the silver car appeared on video. Her father exited, guiding Min toward the steps. No hugs, no goodbye. He simply drove away. Linh watched through tears, the sound of the idling car echoing in her head. Thao spoke clearly, every word measured. At this exact time, my client was in active labor at the hospital. She displayed Lin's medical record on the screen. Timestamp, 2:03 p.m. The footage timestamp, 2:17 p.m. The judge's brow furrowed. Thao continued. Her parents abandoned a 7-year-old boy and told him his mother didn't want him. A murmur rippled through the room. Lin's father shifted in his seat, face flushing red. Then Thao presented the text message. The words glowed on the monitor. You chose money over family. Now you'll know what it feels like to lose one. A collective gasp spread across the benches. Her mother looked down, trembling. Next, Thao called the therapist to testify. Dr. Hyan's calm voice filled the room. Min displays clear trauma symptoms. He fears being taken away again. The judge's gaze softened but remained stern. Finally, Thao called a surprise witness. Kong stepped forward, his suit wrinkled, eyes hollow. He spoke quietly at first. They used me. I was the excuse to manipulate her. He paused, looking at Linh. I should have stopped them. I'm sorry. Her father slammed his hand on the table. Lies, he shouted. The judge raised a hand for silence. Thao's voice cut through the tension. You taught her a lesson by abandoning her child. Her father glared. Sometimes tough love is necessary. The judge leaned forward, voice cold. Tough love is not abandonment, sir. It's cruelty. Minutes later, the ruling came down like thunder. Restraining order for 3 years. 20,000 fine each. Mandatory therapy for the respondents. Linh exhaled. Trembling, tears streaming down her face. The judge turned to her gently. Do you wish to say anything? She stood, steady at last. Love without respect isn't love. My children deserve better. Outside, the clouds began to part, sunlight breaking through. Linh stepped onto the courthouse steps, the wind soft against her face. For the first time, she felt free. 6 months later, the morning sun filtered through the kitchen blinds. Linh flipped pancakes on the griddle, the scent warm and sweet. Nuck cooed in her high chair, tiny hands reaching for the light. Min laughed from the living room, building towers with his blocks. TU letter 1EA5 and entered, hair tousled, carrying 2 mugs of coffee. Conference call at 10, he said, kissing her shoulder. But breakfast first. They smiled, an easy rhythm born from healing. The doorbell rang, and familiar voices filled the house. Mr. and Mrs. Bin, TU letter 1EA5 NS parents, arrived with grocery bags and joy. We brought berries, his mother said, her silver hair shining. She scooped Na into her arms, humming softly. His father knelt beside Min. Show me that airplane, Captain. The boy grinned, excitement replacing the shadows in his eyes. Linh turned back to the stove, blinking away quiet tears. This was what peace looked like. Simple, warm, unconditional. Her phone buzzed on the counter. A message from Kong. Still on for Sunday dinner. Found new airplane decals for Min. She smiled, typing back quickly. Yes, 5 p.m. bring your appetite. He had changed. Steady job, regular visits. Each one a step toward redemption. Later that afternoon, the family gathered in the backyard. Wind stirred the branches of the old tamarind tree. Linh hung a set of copper wind chimes from a low branch. They caught the sunlight, scattering reflections across the grass. Sarah arrived, carrying a bowl of salad and her easy laughter. She hugged Lynn tightly. You taught us all about boundaries, she said softly. Sometimes walking away is the bravest thing. Lynn nodded, eyes on her children playing under the tree. Min chased Bubbles, Na squealed in delight. Mr. and Mrs. Binns set the table, laughter floating through the air. TU letter 1EA5, and flipped meat on the grill, smoke curling like lazy ribbons. Kong arrived last, holding a small package wrapped in brown paper. For you, he said, handing it to Lynn. Inside was a wooden frame carved with her name. Family, it read in simple letters. Lynn smiled, heart swelling. Thank you, she whispered. As the sun dipped lower, golden light bathed the yard. The wind chimes sang softly, their tones light and free. Lynn stood for a moment, watching the scene before her. Her true family, imperfect, loyal, real. The kind that showed up without judgment or demand. She thought of the house she grew up in. The silence, the control, the endless expectations. It all felt like another lifetime. TU letter 1EA5, N, slipped an arm around her waist. Worth it, wasn't it? He murmured. Lynn leaned against him, smiling. Every second, she said. The chimes rang again, gentle and steady in the fading light. Sometimes the hardest wounds come from love. But healing begins when you choose who stands beside you. And as laughter echoed across the yard, Lynn finally understood. Family isn't blood. It's the people who stay when the storm is gone. Morning light spilled across the kitchen, golden and calm. Lynn poured syrup over pancakes, the scent soft and sweet. Min laughed from the backyard, chasing Bubbles through the air. Na clapped her tiny hands, sunlight catching in her dark hair. TU letter 1EA5, N entered, holding coffee and smiling like the world was right. Ready for another busy day? He asked. She nodded, her heart full, her voice steady. I'm ready for anything. The door opened, and familiar laughter drifted in. Mr. and Mrs. Bin arrived with fruit baskets and warm hugs. Their voices filled the house with comfort and peace. Kong followed, carrying toys and shy smiles. He bent to hug Min, who giggled freely now. Lynn watched, a quiet smile blooming on her face. This was the family she built from love, not fear. The kind that stayed, that listened, that healed. Outside, wind brushed against the copper chimes. Their song shimmered, light as forgiveness. Lynn stepped to the window, breathing in the morning air. Her heart was no longer heavy. The storm had passed, and in its place, sunlight and laughter remained. She whispered softly to herself, This is home,